A fighting fury, we're from Tigerland. In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and skin. If we're behind, then never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Night of Nights. Don't worry about the Brownlow or the Best and Fairest. This is the Cmon Man Awards night, and it's going to be an absolute ripper. Now, it was going to double as the Tigercast Player of the Year award, but the illustrious CB forgot he was going to a gig, so we'll have to postpone that one until all of us in the house to go through the Player of the Year award. But we thought we'd still do the Cmon Man award because it is multi-layered. There's 2 awards to be handed out tonight, which you can try and work that out yourself where we might be leading to with that one. But before we get stuck into that, EJ, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you on day release. Thank you for tuning, for jumping.
I feel like I'm that bloke peering over the brick wall that you used to draw when you were a kid.
Yeah. Or was it Al off Home Improvement over the fence?
Yes.
And Grock, welcome, mate. Hope you're doing well down in Geelong, where it's all happening.
Oh, nothing's happening. It's been absolutely great. It's been peace. It's been so peaceful. It's going to be amazing for the next 9 months. It would have been absolutely shocking, and it's a good thing that CB isn't here and we're postponing the Player of the Year, because it gives you one more week to get that damn song in the intro correct.
I chuckled to myself when I heard it, and I thought, I'm going to get hit for this one again. No, I haven't got around to changing that one yet, but no, we'll definitely get around to fixing that. But yeah, it's been, I suppose, a few weeks since we've caught up. We've had a bit going on. We've had obviously the Brownlow take place, the BNF take place. Luke Bruce and Taylor Duray have jumped on board, so there's a fair bit going on. Where do we start?
I'm just going to make a note. You've actually brought up something else. It's going to be a late nomination. It's not going to be top 3. There's going to be a late nomination for the Cmon Man. Thank you very much for that. Well done.
Oh, is it aimed at me though?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
It's aimed at an opposition club. Let's
awesome.
It's okay.
Very nice, very nice. Well, we'll start off with the Best and Fairest. Tim Taranto taking out the Jack Dye medal, which I think it felt like it was odds-on favourite, didn't it? I mean, there was no denying he had a really, really good year. But I suppose to officially get recognised for his reward for effort, EJ, was really good. And to kind of go on a bit of a different tangent, to see where he's come from in terms of the reasons he was maybe brought across to the club, not eventuating to see him then knuckle down. And it seems like he's really bought into what he's now having to do at the club. He's really embraced that leadership type of role, and to see him get the BNF was a really good outcome for him.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's no secret that brought across with Hopper with one thing in mind, and it went pear-shaped pretty quickly. And it's fair to say that, like, he felt a little bit let down by the situation he's found himself in. But although people will say we've paid too much and blah, 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 I think what we saw this year was just how valuable these two guys, or him and Hopper together, are going to be in setting us up for the future. I just hope that by the time we climb back up, that these guys are still there to reap the fruits of the labour of the effort they're putting in now. Taranto and Hopper also both had sensational seasons.
They definitely did. And Grock Vlosten, obviously, I think he was second, wasn't he, Nick Vlosten? Again, you could have raffled off first, second, or third between them, but he put in another superhuman-like effort. And I still feel like he's a little bit underrated external to Richmond. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's nice to see him get second in the BNF. And we need him to play for another couple of years, really. We need to drag out how long we've got left on the Nick Vlosten era at Richmond Football Club. But another good way to reward his season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel sad that he missed the last game, obviously, with the leg injury, given how close the vote count was. And it still astounds me that I know everyone is like, Vlosten should have been All-Australian, but it still blows my mind that he still hasn't won a Jack Dye medal. He still hasn't won a Best and Fairest. And I personally probably would have had Vlosten ahead of Taranto over the course of this year. Taranto obviously had some really, really good patches, but I just think in terms of consistency, Vlosten was probably our best player over the course of the year. But yeah, credit to the top three. Obviously, Taranto had a ripper year. He was back to that goal-kicking form from the first year when he was with us, when he kicked about 20 goals. That's obviously last year. That was probably the one area that he was lacking, was just scoreboard damage and getting forward. And Hopper hit the scoreboard as well, which is nice to see. And I know we criticise, the midfield makeup, but they more than made up for it going forward. And that's the baseline that we want them to have going forward. So, yeah, I think the top three were clear standouts from the rest of the pack.
And Miller featured all right as well, EJ, too, which was good. Another player that we've sung the praises of quite highly this year. And I know for some reason he still sort of divided a lot of people in a lot of ways, but it was no denying he was by far and away our best key position defender, and was rightfully recognised in that space for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. What, he finished 4th or 5th? I think he was top 5. He was sensational. I've had my one gripe or knock on him, which was that he doesn't pull the trigger fast enough. But in the second half of the season, he was even doing that. But from a structural point of view, very rarely beaten. He's a mature head as well, which, doesn't go unnoticed. We're in a really good position for the phasing of the back line from the old to the new. Like you said, we probably get a couple more years out of Vlosten, 2, hopefully 3. We're 1 more year out of Broad. Miller's, 27-ish, around there. We've actually the staggered ages of the back line is fantastic, and he's going to be here for another 4 to 6 years.
Fingers crossed, and it's going to be good to see him with a fully tuned in Noah Bolter next year as well. I think they'll make a really good combo. And I'm saying that, I guess, in hope a little bit as well. But look, the Bolter of this year, I doubt we'll see next year. I think we'll see him ready and raring to go. And he's still got a point to prove in my books in terms of winning back all of us in the club. I don't think he played one really good game. His first game back against the Suns was quite good, but not much else apart from that, even though he's probably turning up and doing the extras and working hard, which is great. But we needed to translate on field and to form a really good duo with Ben Miller, given that Tyler Young is on the way out, gents. So we're just waiting to hear how that plays out in terms of what we get from West Coast. I mean, we can be hopeful for maybe a second rounder. They're going to probably want to do a third rounder, but he's going to be a best 22 defender for them. How do you see the absolute Tyler Young leaving? Does that leave any gaps or holes, or do you think Bolter can slip in and fill it okay? And then I suppose on top of that, how do we see Gibcus performing in I suppose, the defensive unit for 2026? Because it's a lot will sort of fall back onto him as well now.
I think Bolter, obviously the year that he had was up and down. He had a couple of good games, and then there were some really poor games. The Bulldogs game especially, where he just looked disinterested, lost, no defensive structure or anything. But part of that, I think, comes down to everything that he was dealing with, plus obviously the curfew, where there was just no consistent game time for him. He'd be in the side, 1 or 2 weeks, and he'd be out for 1 or 2 weeks. Just that constant rotation. But the fact that he's back at the club early, doing all the efforts and everything, the fact that Ooze has backed him in, I think we'll see a different Bolter next year. I think, again, as you said, he's got to earn the trust of the club back, the players and the supporters. So I think having Miller step up as well, I think Bolter, if we compare Bolter and Young, I think at their best, Bolter is the superior player. I think Bolter's far more damaging than Young. Young's probably more consistent, but I would take Bolter to fill in that slot. And with the youngsters around him coming through, obviously Trainer, Brown, Gibcus, who, if Gibcus can stay fully fit and get some continuity, I think that really shores our back line up as well. So I'm actually not too disappointed that Young's leaving. I mean, I would like him to stay because he's been really, really solid. But at the end of the day, he's 27. He's coming off an ACL. This was his one big, contract before he's down to the 1 or 2 year deals. So I don't begrudge him for leaving. The financial security, you've got to take it when it comes. So, yeah, I just think our backline's probably not going to suffer too much as long as Bolter stays switched on, which hopefully now that all the distractions of this year and the case and everything have been settled, hopefully that helps him just stay in the moment and playing some good footy.
And EJ, Gibcus and Campbell Gray have got roles to play as well down there. How do you, on top of the other part of it, how do you see those two playing a part in this functioning backline?
Yeah, I was going to say step up Campbell Gray. That is the reason why. Yes, look, I think it hurts to lose Young for exactly the reason that Ruck said. I think he's smarter than Bolter. I think Bolter is best, but I think he's a smarter footballer than Bolter, which leads to that consistency which you talk about. But I think Campbell Gray is untapped. So there's definitely a big opportunity for him now to step in. And as far as Bolter goes, he owes us, but I think he knows that he owes us. So I'm expecting a big year from Bolter next year.
I agree. I'm backing Bolter in, and I also agree in the Campbell Gray front too. The club have shown some good faith. I think it was a 2-year deal that is now officially all locked and loaded, which is good. And from the games we saw of him, he didn't look out of place. When you watch a new player playing, sometimes you can tell they're new to senior football, but you couldn't really feel that with Campbell Gray. He sort of slotted in really well. So you have to wonder if the club view him on par or as good as it, or maybe better than what Tyler Young was offering. And Gray's got the ability to swing forward too. If things aren't panning out down forward due to personnel reasons with injury and whatever, then at least you still have another option to go down there and cause some damage there too. But it'll be interesting to see how the back line goes. It's been one of our more stable parts of the ground, and now it's going to be the pillars of Miller and Bolter for 2026. And Luke Traynor hopefully gets a bit more of a full-time gig down there. Now, I did hear a little whisper in relation to our backline that there's been some murmurs about Jaden Short potentially doing some midfield training work, could be in the works for 2026. I don't know how true, which is something that I'd heard in passing, but that would allow someone like Traynor to play more in the backline in his settled and preferred position, and maybe we look to get something out of Shorty in other parts of the ground if it was to eventuate.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I don't mind that. I think Short now out of the back line, he was one of our better players with his composure, but he's slowed down obviously with age, and with that come the panic kicks. Yes, he's still getting meters gained, but his disposal quality has dropped off. So if we can move him up the ground and we can get someone like obviously Banks, we've got Ralph Smith who's looked pretty good running off a halfback. Depending on who we draft this year, whether someone like a Josh Lindsay or whoever to slot in there, even Traynor who we know can push up the ground a little bit and offer some rebound as well. I think that's something that we should be taking into account. And if Short is training with the midfield group, I think it makes sense, because I think we're better off getting games into the youngsters on a halfback flank. So we're not in the position where we were at the start of this year with Banks coming in to replace Rioli. If we can get more exposure to the younger guys at halfback before Shorty goes, I think that'd be best. Yeah,
I just hope it is an outside midfield position and or wing, and not centre square focused.
Yeah,
because I think he's useful around the ball. If someone like a Prestia or a McAuliffe can feed it out to him, it can actually be really damaging for us. But as long as that is the way that they're thinking of utilising him, I'm all for it.
Yeah, 100%. We've talked about our balls inside 50 and just the efficiency. If Shorty is that outside distributor, I think that's going to make us a lot more dangerous, and I think it's going to fix, I won't say a lot, but it'll fix some of the issues that we have going inside 50.
And the other thing with Short being the person to deliver it inside 50 is because we know he's got massive penetration and depth of kick, is that you're going to have the defenders concerned about whether it's going to be a short, pardon the pun, whether it's going to be a short pass to someone on the lead or whether it's going to go over the back. Whereas with some of the people we're going in with now, it's only going to one spot. With short, you've got the ability for multiple, probably a 30-yard sort of span where the others don't have that.
It's a good point. And I hope it comes to life, but for all the reasons you both just outlined. I think there's multiple wins to be had on that front, which we actually all spoke about this when he was coming back into the side. We didn't know where he was going to fit back in. So I think the same thing is kind of happening again, but I think it could just be a good passing over of the baton to whoever will be running the half back line. But speaking of getting back into training early, it was really awesome to continually hear Josh Smiley's been out at Punt Road doing all of his work before they're officially meant to start back. I know they all get programs and stuff like that. And Morris Jr. out and about doing some bits and pieces too. He obviously had the grand final sprint as well. Didn't win, but still looked in pretty good nick. But I'm just pumped and super excited for Josh Smiley. You can't help but feel that him not getting on the park in 2025, he has now used that as some epic fuel to get himself primed and ready to go for 2026. You can just tell that this kid wants to make a statement and he wants to impress and he wants to be out there with his fellow draftees. And I, for one, am very much looking forward to seeing that happen.
Absolutely. As CB would say, put the house on him winning the Rising Star.
I've seen a few comments on that. He's you'd love to see when the market opens up, but where do you play him though?
I'm trying to find my notes. I can't find it exactly, but I was given some information that Smiley is moving in with a player or has moved in with a player, which is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Moving from the outer eastern suburbs into town with a player, having that extra level of accountability, which he didn't have before, which we were all talking about. Apparently that's happened. So
excellent.
I'm trying to find the name of the player and I can't. Oh, Jonty Ford. Jonty Ford. He's living with Jonty.
Oh,
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, he's using his
Your
time
boy,
wisely. He's
Ruck.
down at the club every morning.
Yeah. My boy. And like with Jonty's work rate, Smiley's going to get something out of that just with the professionalism I've heard about Jonty. The coaches love just the standards that he sets for himself at training and everything, and it's easy to see with the way that he plays. I'm really looking forward to seeing Smiley next year. Obviously, he'll make a big difference to our midfield, and I think I don't want to throw him to the Wolves straight away, but at the same time, that's where he plays his best footy. So I could see him playing as the midfielder, but probably similar to McAuliffe, where we won't, play him for extended games, maybe 1 or 2 games here or there, just to get his body hardened and used to it, and then back out of the side. But as much as I'm looking forward to him, I'm not looking forward to seeing that haircut based on the video from the Jack Dye medal.
Could the 5th spot on the bench be of benefit to someone like Smiley? So he's not sitting out at 3/4, not as sub, but they can use him a bit more sparingly. Can that be of benefit?
Absolutely. I think that's a good thing, especially for players that maybe struggle with their conditioning or their endurance. You've got players like him, even McAuliffe, who's still developing his tank. I think players like that, with opening up the extra bench slot, will be a good thing. Obviously, got to keep in mind that one extra bench slot means extra rotations. So we'll probably see rotations, being used up a little bit quicker. So we'll have to manage that. But yeah, definitely, I think that the 5th is a good thing.
Yeah, because the rotation cap is exactly the same number.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is Brother at Tiger in with $10. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Loving the live shows. No, we love the live shows. It's always good to interact with everybody and get everyone's thoughts and views on all things Richmond. But that's going to be interesting to see how we manage Josh Smiley. But just pumped. You're just trying to manifest it to be a good year for him because you just know he's going to explode and burst onto the scene. And equally for Morris Jr. too. Like in a lot of ways, and we don't like using the word, but he is somewhat a barometer for us, isn't it? I mean, if he's up and about and laying tackles and pressurising, and he for me, he can still be best 22, no doubt, Morris Jr.
100%. Now, I think like everyone switches on, if I want to use that term or whatever, or has it click at a different stage. Now, I was never a great player. I was a rugby union player, but I was never a great player. But the switch didn't flick to me till I was 23 years old, and all of a sudden I got an extra level of professionalism, desire, commitment, etc. I think what we saw this year with Morris was the switch flicked. And if we can see that, so that's why, look, although it was frustrating or whatever to hear some of the things that were around and to not see any progression with Smiley, there's no panic at this stage. And some of these signs in the off-season are good. And then we go back to someone like Cripps only playing one game in his first season.
Yeah.
Not everyone is a round one, year one player. And I think we need to be mindful of that, myself included, when we smack people sometimes.
Yeah. I think with Morris, it'll be interesting to see, obviously, with the year he's had, probably his best year that he's had at AFL level, whether the switch has flicked and he comes back from the break in better shape than he has in previous pre-seasons. Because I don't think he's been on the list, 6-7 years now. I don't think he's come back in reasonable shape in any of them. I think he's always been behind the 8 ball. So given that he's had such a professional year this year, it'll be interesting to see if that's going to carry over. And next year, I'd love to see him play in the guts more. Obviously, just the way that he attacks the ball, he hunts and tackles, and even his delivery with the ball was a lot better this year, hitting up targets and the goal assist and everything. So I think he's more impactful as a midfielder, and that fixes a bit of the pace issues in the outside run that we've been wanting as well. So yeah, I definitely think next year is going to be a question mark on Morris, and hopefully he continues to develop.
Does Sammy Lawler get the number 4 next year from Jack? I'd leave him personally.
Yeah, I'd leave him. You know what? It's up to him. I think we're in such a hurry to just have, and I'm in a hurry for him to explode as well. But I think we just need to let them be who they are. And if they don't want to take the number 4, they don't take it. If he wants to take it, fantastic. I like the high numbers. I love the fact that Jack Graham stayed in 34. I think Taj is pretty keen to keep his number, isn't he?
I think so, because of the Kobe Bryant connection.
Yeah.
He's a keen basketballer.
Yeah, so I don't. If he wants to stay in the number he's in, just happy
let him
days.
make his own history, whatever he wants to do.
Look, as long as he's fit, that's all. I couldn't give a shit what number he's wearing.
And they were talking about him today on Trade Radio. Heaven forbid too many of us listen to Trade Radio, but James Heard. To be fair, James Heard's been really good when listening.
Yeah, and he mispronounced his name again.
I know. he did. But he's right. Like, if we can keep him fit and on the park, it's going to go a long way to shaping our season a little bit. But looking forward to a big year from Sammy Lawler-Grock.
Yeah, absolutely. And just touching back on the number thing, I don't want us to do to Lawler what happened with Asprey in the first year or so when he inherited the number 12. Asprey himself said he struggled with some of the expectations that came with the number. I don't think Lawler would struggle, but I also don't want... he gets enough comparisons to Dusty already. Like, we don't want to heap even more by having him wear the same number, and just the expectations of, what if Lawler, God forbid, doesn't, hit the ceiling that we think he will, all of those sorts of things. Especially from some of the supporters. Some of our supporters can be pretty fickle already. Some are already calling Lawler a bust because of the injury history and everything. So, number 1 pick, he's already got a lot of pressure on that. The comparisons, a bit of an interrupted season this year. He's already got enough pressure on him going into next season anyway. No need to add any more onto that with the number change. But yeah, absolutely looking forward to it. The kid was an absolute beast in the games that he played. And while he didn't get a huge amount of the ball, what he did with the ball every time he got it, something happened. He broke the game open. Even just, yes, his kicking inside 50 was awesome, but the very first passage you and I saw of him, round one, right in front of us on the half-forward wing, where he managed to break out of the traffic between two Blues players and deliver the ball. I mean, that's something that you can't teach, just that finesse and the composure and everything. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do, given his first proper full preseason now that he's no longer doing the cricket. And seeing what he's like come round one against the Blues.
Exactly right, and that's the thing. It's all of these players' first proper full pre-season, so they should be a lot better placed, and I should see him hopefully hit the ground running in 2026. We'll answer this one quickly because I know he's your man, EJ McAuliffe, key player for our future. I'm a big yes. I think he was just really unlucky with the timing of his injury, but I really liked what he was adding to the midfield.
Yeah, look, I don't think he's ever going to be a top 4 player in our side, but I think he'll be a good mid-range player for us for a long time. He just needs a big off season, and he needs to be safe, like Lawler, stay fit, just get games under the belt, and here we are. Just on the numbers, there was a couple of great tweets in there. RFC said he hopes that Seth keeps the 44. I agree. Looks grouse. Like, it looks unreal. And whilst not advocating for change, if someone said, McAuliffe should take Barry Rawlings when Lawler gets out of the 22, but McAuliffe should take the 22. And to me, that seems like a really good fit.
It'll be interesting to see. Oh, there we go. Is that one there? McAuliffe should get the 22. Well,
you guys aren't old enough to remember Barry Rawlings. He was gone.
Was he?
Yeah, he came from Hawthorn. He might have played for a flag in them in the late 70s, and he played for us in 1980. He was a really good player.
Oh, I'm happy to see Kane McCall from the 22 then. Why not? If it fits, why not? No early draft mail. We'll touch on this one just quickly. Blair Hartley, I tell you what, if there's any person in the country you don't want to play poker against, it's Blair Hartley. Card's always very close to his chest. He gave away next to nothing at his interview today with Cal Toomey. Really don't know where we're going to land. And this is the fun of mock drafts and stuff. It is all just guessing and trying to piece together who we all think might be the best fit. There's been the draft boulder with Sullivan Roby. Sam Grill put up some really awesome testing numbers over the last couple of days, which we have been linked to, but maybe it felt that pick was too high initially. But then you hear Blair Hartley talk about that even the targeting of Malcolm Roses wasn't necessarily because we felt we needed a small forward. It's because we wanted the speed. So then that kind of then makes me rethink back to Sam Grill and his numbers. Maybe they are prepared to call his name out at 3 or 4, which might be a bit higher than usual. It's going to be interesting. Like that comment alone from Blair Hartley's EJ just suggests that we are quite literally targeting speed. If they were wanting him, not even for his small forward efforts, just with the pace factor.
Yeah, and that makes me think that maybe we'll keep 3 and split 4, but not drop back too far so that we can get Grill.
Yeah,
because he's not projected to go. Too. Yeah, and someone else, exactly that. He's not projected to go in that first sort of 5 or 6 now. So we get who we want at 3, and then maybe at 7, 8, or whatever the split pick is, we pick him up there. But yeah,
possibly. The problem is that Grill's testing might actually catapult him up the order a little bit more because he's done the double with getting a really good 2K trial time and then the 20-meter sprint as well, finishing in the top 5 for both.
Yeah, well, in Blair we trust. That's probably the only way that I can put it.
Agree. He doesn't give much away, old Blair. Anyway, we can do draft stuff another time. But we are here for the awards night, for the Cmon Man awards night. I better bring up the audio, shouldn't I, before we get stuck into that? Imagine starting that and not having. Hang on, let me find. I'm gonna do the first one quickly. So,
man.
There we go. I've got that one out the way. So we've got 2 parts to the Cmon Man award. There is an initial category top 5 and a winner, and then there's a bit of a bonus feature, and I'm sure you'll pick up the trend and where that may head very quickly when you see the top 5, EJ. But I'll bring up the slides one by one. And
okay, was the initial one a top 5? Don't even know my own work. How good's this?
Yeah, no, it'll come back to memory real quickly.
I'll
bring them up.
Okay, so basically, after the initial bunch of nominations here, there'll be a bit of a speech before we go forward. But there's a late nomination that has come out in the last couple of days, and it's the biggest case of sour grapes that I've seen. Like, absolutely pathetic. What is the name of the Collingwood Best and Fairest Award? Come on. The Copeland Trophy. Come on, you people.
Okay.
You're supposed to be football people. What's going on? Well, I know the Melbourne's the Bluey Truscott Medal and all this sort of shit. Anyway, right. So at the Copeland Awards, McRae is up there giving a speech, and then he has a little bit of a pop at the Brownlow medal winner, Matt Rowell,
yes.
and the Brownlow in general by saying, oh, maybe, Nick, next year you need to have a few more 16 possession games. Apart from A, being an extremely bad taste, B, Nick didn't even win your own fucking club award, you idiot, right? And to top it all off, being the Copeland Trophy, the way they framed the picture, the first 4 letters of the name, Cope, was caught behind him in the picture, and it was absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
Just on those sour grapes, how can McRae be like that when the very first thing out of Richard Goyder's mouth after Rowell won the Brownlow was to mention, Nick Dacos? Like, seriously, couldn't even congratulate Rowell first and then mention Dacos. It had to be Dacos first. Like, yeah, ridiculous.
And apparently Tommy Morris was saying a certain father of famous people stormed out of the awards night after ripping his tie off when it became evident that his son was not going to win the award.
Interesting.
Come on, man.
All right, with that late entry, and let's get to the official proceeding. So these are, I suppose we'll call the first 4 honourable mentions for the Cmon Man Awards for 2025. First up, Brad Scott.
Come on,
Right,
man.
okay. So basically what we have here with this group of nominations is, if you look at it at the Australian football landscape, this was the intention, was that we just talk about it league-wide or whatever, but this ends up being the VFL Awards, and then we'll have the AFL Awards to follow. All right. So Brad Scott, like, the first quarter of football of our game was a really good contest, and you shit your dacks, and you've paid 2 or 3 people behind the ball against the 17th place side, and you've still been beaten. Have a look at yourself.
Come on, man.
Agree. Pathetic. No need for that shit.
Yeah, we need the that song from, is it Eurotrip? Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know football.
How are you going to develop your players if you play to save a game against a 17th ranked side?
Yeah,
especially after paying $1 million for Ben McKay.
Yeah, we'll put 3 on the ball.
I'm going to go with Bruce here. Delicious.
The next honourable mention is actually one of our own. Tom Lynch gets an honourable mention for his flying fist antics.
Come on, man.
Like, seriously, you're supposed to be the senior player down on the forward line. There are players that get scragged every single week. We do not need to be dragged back to the 1980s with your shit because you can't control yourself. Not only is it a bad example, but with other players out injured, it left us with no one down in the forward line for 5 weeks. You're 30-something years old. Grow up.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I think you'll have a bit of remorse on that one. I think we'll see a different Lynchy next year. Now, this next honourable mention, this will be a crowd favourite. This one, you're heading into round one. Teams are feeling good about themselves. They maybe plan a couple of little activations to do post game, and then they get knocked off by the Tigers, and the membership drive gets cancelled for Carlton and Michael Voss.
Come on, man.
This is still one of the great events of the year. Not only after it came on the back of a backflip from number 44, but I mean, seriously, how up yourself are you as a club to plan this? But how piss weak are you as a club to not be able to follow through and to pull the pin just because you lost a game of football? And now we hear from the BNF the last night or two, the club's divided, everything's going to shit. We're all eating our own. Carlton are a shell. They're insipid. They're piss weak. And the whole season, you could almost, by the fact that they pulled this membership drive, this was a portent of things to come. It was the beginning of the end.
Didn't it happen a secondary time as well? I could have sworn it happened twice.
Oh, probably.
The fact that it happened once is bad enough, but
I was probably still laughing. I was probably still laughing the first time.
I mean, I was pretty happy that we knocked them off round one, but looking back now at the end of the season, we didn't beat anyone good. Like, besides Gold Coast.
It was like beating Frankston.
Yeah. It was like South Park, the cripple fight.
The next honourable mention, if you were running a company and there was an issue, a workplace issue that had to be resolved with mediation and hearings and things like that, you'd think you'd keep yourself out of it, in your opinion, out of the public eye until after it's taken place. I would have thought, Mr. Andrew Dillon, not sharing your tribunal thoughts before the proceeding has begun, planting ideas into people's heads, maybe.
Come on, man.
Having written all the notes for the next section, this is coming back to me now. What an absolute disgrace, right? So we actually know now from these thoughts, we knew the outcome of the tribunal before the tribunal was held. That's basically what this is, right? This is what you wouldn't call it a company. What would you call it? This is an organisation that is just spin, 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 manage. They say all the right things, but they do nothing. They don't listen to the fans, but everything that they're told that they don't want to hear, they just ignore, and everything that they're told that they do want to hear, they promote. And the tribunal is one of the great examples. I feel sorry for Chriso because he actually has to come on radio once every 6 weeks or whatever and justify the decisions that somebody else made for him and made him release. And the best example was Andrew Dillon telling us before the tribunal what was going to happen.
Come on, man.
That's crazy.
Pisses
Anything
me
to add
off.
to that one, Grock?
I was going to say, like, let's look at it purely and simply. If this was a judge saying things before a court case, it'd be a complete mistrial. So, like, I don't understand why, the CEO of an organisation that's, having a disciplinary hearing for a player is coming out before, the actual tribunal hearing and putting his thoughts in. I don't think he understands the position that he's in, and he needs to remove his personal opinions out of it. He's got to separate himself being in the position of authority and him being, a fan of the game, or, I say fan of the game with some of the changes he's made and decisions he's made. You can't call him a fan. But yeah, I just think, people hated on Gil McLaughlin for a lot of things, but he never put himself in a situation like this. He always backed himself in and said, that's the MRO's decision, or it's up to the tribunal to come to the decisions. He never tried to influence any of these outcomes to the, to be obvious, like what Dylan has. So yeah, I just think, the game's never been better, right?
Never been
Give me
better.
a break.
Never been better.
Well,
But
especially the umpiring.
they're flying. They're absolutely flying.
Yeah, that's a great point, Rock, that you make, right? That in real life, if this was a legal matter, it would be a mistrial. I'm actually going to, if he goes down this path again, I would love for a club to come out and actually campaign to have everything dropped because it had been decided
unfair
before they went
trial.
to yes, 100%. I would love that. That would be awesome.
Because they can't be impartial if he comes out and makes comments like that.
Yep. He did a press conference with a recommendation before the hearing's been had. Like, what he's doing. But the winner for the first set of awards for Come On Man, the VFL version, we'll call this, as EJ said, you're going pretty well if you can get suspended for a week after you've been withdrawn and be withdrawn from said game, voiding your suspension. So Port Adelaide and David Koch, they are the winners of the first part of Come On Man, EJ.
Oh, and this just goes to exactly what the previous winner was all about. Management and spin, and it's really hard. It's really hard not to bring race into it here. I pose the question that if a death threat was made by Toby Green, where are we sitting at right now? Like, I just think that this whole, again, it was a case of they had made up the suspension in their minds, I'm positive, before he's withdrawn. Then he's withdrawn. Then they've announced the suspension, and everything fits nice and neatly into the cup of your hand. Like, something like this should have been taken out of the hands of anyone to do with the club, and it should have gone to an independent panel. You cannot be making death threats and have a 1 week suspension. It's just unacceptable.
And coincidentally, the 1 week suspension was he was injured anyway. So, like, in reality, what did he really miss? But, I mean, we shouldn't go too hard. He might have family members waiting for us out the front. Like, let's be real. Like, yeah, if this was Tom Lynch, Toby Green, Hal Bailey Smith, it would have been blown way bigger than what it was, and it would have been, more than a week. Yeah, I just think the whole media around it was just everything from Port Adelaide, from the AFL. It was just a complete clusterfuck, and yeah, it ended poorly. I think for everyone who wasn't a Port Adelaide fan, I think the suspension should have been a lot higher than what it was.
I disagree with you on Bailey Smith, but more on that shortly.
Well, that is the first part of the awards done. We look forward to redoing this for next year. But you'll notice there was maybe a particular set of people that were missing from that initial group of winners, or people we wanted to recognise, and that's because they have their own category. This has been a late development. EJ demanded that we give these people the airtime they deserve, so they can be called out accordingly. Now, this is actually a top 6, and I need to remember to upload the last clip because I can only do 10 at a time. But hopefully I'll remember to do that for the winner. But anyway,
I've written notes on these, so if you can't put up number 6, that's okay.
Okay, so it'll actually be number 1 that I can't put up, the winner. But
okay.
But that's all right. I think it'll be pretty self-explanatory. So
it is time now.
Lead into it.
It is time now to shit on the organisation known as the Geelong Football Club. Right? What a conceited, holier-than-thou, pedestal operating. That isn't my number 6. So you've dropped off the first one. You have dropped off the first one. That's okay. That's all right. We'll run with it. Right? What an all. Anyway, at number 6 was Catman.
Oh, I've got him at 5.
Sovereign
Hang on,
citizen.
I'll bring it up. I'll swap it around. There you go.
Right. So this was
What a
outstanding.
picture.
Right, post grand final, this idiot, who I believe is the son of a former Geelong Premiership player in the 60s or something, this idiot has made a video post claiming that he was a sovereign citizen, and as such, he does not accept the result. Right, that after qualifying that high on the ladder and winning the qualifying final, they have a credit that they can cash in, and then they won the preliminary final, so they've got credits. So he demands that all Cat supporters get together and ask for a replay of the grand final, and also an investigation into the Lockie Neal injury, because how can it be a 6-week injury and how can he be back? It's not fair. Everything is unfair. Oh, Catman, you are
Come on, man.
a shining example of a Geelong supporter.
Shining example.
100%. Like, I saw it all over my newsfeed. People were tagging me in it left, right, and center. You know, friends and colleagues, and like, check this out. I'm not ashamed to admit that I may have made a comment, a couple of comments under it. Firstly, I'm not sure if anyone's actually checked his feed, but after every win, he does this stupid like motorbike dance and everything. And I commented that Charlie stole the keys to his motorbike on grand final day just with his performance and the fact that there's going to be no dance. And he also has a propensity to eat cat food. He'll literally eat tins of cat food, and it's usually like Whiskers or Fancy Feast or Dine. I said after that performance, it's home brand black and white cat food for him for the next 9 months. But I mean, what an absolute flog! Like, it's just ridiculous. Some of the things that he said in that video, like, I'm a sovereign citizen and I don't accept that result. Well, you know, the millions who watched it, even, you know, the most diehard of Cat fans that I know have accepted the result. Like, they're not sovereign citizens. Like, yeah, it's just, it made my week. Like, it's just the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, it's amazing. It is just, it's absolutely amazing. And I know we all accepted the results and we accepted it with glee.
Oh, I mean, it was the one thing that I wanted, like, going into it was just fantastic. Like, it's just going to make the next, 6 months so much sweeter living down here.
Yeah, was the next one the first one I had, EJ?
Yes. Right. The Geelong third-party payments investigation by a former Geelong CFO who set up the third-party payments and who was there for about 8 years. It's still not finalised. We still haven't heard anything. Why is this? If it was any other club, and I think we heard something before the grand final. Oh, it's coming soon. It will be released soon. Right, this has massive hairs on it. I'm sorry, but if it was all fine and dandy, they would have interviewed a few people, released a report and said, yeah, they probably should have declared it. They didn't declare it. Here's a $50,000 fine. Yet here we are after the grand final and we still don't know the outcome of an investigation. Give me a spell.
Come on, man.
You know what it is? They'll be
Done
waiting
before we get an outcome.
That'll be what it is. Trade week, Marshall, Warple, all of these players that they're bringing in, they'll get them in and then they'll release the outcome. They'll get the players that they want without the financial sanctions that should be coming before they get hit with it.
I'd like to say you were wearing a tinfoil hat, Rock, but sadly, I think you're right.
It's crazy that it's not come out. It really is that. Yeah, I don't know
It's
how
actually
it's been able to go on for this long, and it only comes back up because some people will keep reminding or reigniting the flame on social media, and it's like, oh yeah, we haven't had a result on that one yet. So it has actually almost naturally disappeared under the carpet.
Yeah,
which is crazy. All right, the next one coming in, we've got. I love this photo.
Well, Danger, I hope you enjoyed your kebab on grand final day because you weren't playing football. This was one of the most arrogant displays I have ever seen, right? But it is Geelong, so whatever, right? And then the faux surprise afterwards going, what? I was just refueling, like, name me one other time that you can remember since the AFL. Well, I won't even bother going back to VFL. In AFL times, how many times have you ever seen a player with a kebab on a bench?
Yeah.
Anyone? Anyone?
Like,
No.
Right? This
imagine.
was just go on.
I was going to say, imagine Zach Bailey munching on a hot dog at halftime at the grand final. Imagine how shitty Geelong fans would have been.
Well, 100%, and that goes to this point, right? The absolute lack of respect for your opponent. The absolute lack of respect for your opponent, right? This was against North Melbourne. If he was playing Collingwood, he would not have the balls to do this. If he was playing Hawthorn, he would not have the balls to do this. If he was playing those teams, the club would not have allowed him to do this. This was Geelong being Geelong, and this was Dangerfield being Dangerfield.
Come on, man.
And that's where the footy gods got him on grand final day. He's too busy waiting in line at Yarra Park at the food van.
Waiting with CCJ and Sydney Stack. I'm sure they've got some good kebab recommendations for him. Next up on the list for the Geelong version, Bailey Smith.
This is where we probably differ, Grock. Yes, there was definitely a fair bit of attention, all right, but he's given the finger to fans. He's sworn at photographers or reporters twice. He is an anti-Geelong player. Geelong always crap on about their culture and about how, everyone will take the less and whatever, and how everyone loves Bailey and what he brings and all this sort of stuff. I have a sneaking suspicion that not everyone at Geelong loves Bailey. Right? If this, again, if this was Toby and he's swearing at supporters, is he getting off without a suspension or a fine?
He almost got suspended for dressing up.
Right. We've got the AFL.
And Geelong players did not.
Yeah.
Oh, don't even give me. Jake Riccardi dresses as a taxi driver. There's 2 games. But apparently you can dress as... Yeah, anyway. Look, I didn't even get into his posts about Caroline Wilson and things like that. It's just before that, right? If this was a known troublemaker, which Bailey is, who's been caught on film doing other things and that as well, not long ago, I honestly think medium term, Geelong are going to regret Bailey Smith no matter what he brings on the field.
Yeah. So,
Just
come
no
on,
need
man.
to be abusing
Come on, man.
photography. They're just doing their job. Yeah, I can't make sense of it. Like, you're right. If it was a Toby Green or whoever else you want to put out there, they would have been smashed from pillar to post in the media. But having said that type of stuff tends to lead from the top, doesn't it? Because I'll admit,
before we move on, can we also just say about Scotty's comments about the whole photo of Bailey Smith, saying it was a private moment, shouldn't have been captured. You invited a damn a press photographer from your hometown local newspaper to an open training session, and Smith was getting worked on the bench. Like, what do you expect to happen? It's just ridiculous all around.
Agree.
yeah, exactly right. But Chris Scott's not innocent in this stake either, is he, EJ?
Oh, look, there's multi-layers that I could add to this. Like, I don't want to make excuses, but after the grand final, he's a very performative person. And if people don't know what that means, they should look it up. He did a fantastic job out on the ground seeking out the Brisbane players, shaking their hands, hugging his godson, and yet we have him saying, oh, look, I don't want to make excuses, but the sub rule. And then you've got the video clip of him the week of grand final week, and someone started to ask the question, is this the best you've ever been prepared? Yep. Never been better prepared. Yep. Best. And then in the press conference after the grand final going, oh, look, there's a lot of things we haven't been able to talk about. We've had a lot of troubles during the... Like, just take the loss. Just take the loss. All right? You're a very performative individual, take the loss. But why is everyone in the media and in the AFL scared of this bloke? He's easily the most well-spoken, but why are they all scared of him? All right? He has abused an AFL staff member, not a fan, not an opposition coach. He's abused someone who works for the AFL and goes completely unpunished. Imagine if Damien Hardwick, in his 2020 Richmond era, had have abused an AFL staffer. Imagine what would have happened. How and why is it that these guys operate on a different level? I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, you raised a good point about the comments pre-game about preparation. I was going to say that would have been a late nomination of mine, was just the hypocrisy and the sour grapes, excuses, not to make excuses, but da-da-da-da-da. But, I mean, just this whole abuse of AFL staff members from Scotty, the fact that it stems from him being aggravated by someone who is legally blind and the frustrations that they had with this person, it makes, just compounds things. It's just a poor look, and I'm surprised that there have been no sort of articles from even from companies that deal with disability advocacy and everything like that. The fact that it's all been pretty hush hush, it's pretty poor on both parts. And you look at Geelong and their history, obviously Scotty, Bailey Smith, Paul Chapman, Matty
Stokes.
Yeah, Matty Stokes, Jesse, someone. There's been quite a few who have, Gary Ablett Sr., Ronnie Burns. There's been quite a few Geelong players with a history of abuse towards females, whether it be physical or verbal. Yeah, culture. Yeah, let's talk. Geelong want to talk about their culture and supporting Bailey. Let's talk about their culture of, not so nice things.
But with that all said and done, gents, the winner, because they've been very hard done by from everybody, including the media, is the Geelong Football Club, and maybe in particular their president EJ, who had that quote to say right there.
So this became number one very, very late on, with everything that this shit stain of a club has presented up, with Chris Scott and his arrogant, conceited, performative, holier-than-thou, pedestal operating attitude, with Bailey Smith and his rudeness and his arrogance, with danger, with everything. Then, with all of this, right, the president says that Geelong are the victims that have been targeted. Right? I don't remember any other club coaches abusing AFL staff members. I don't remember any players from other club abusing photographers. I don't remember anyone else from another club eating a kebab on a fucking interchange bench. All right? There's a great song by Radiohead called Just. And the chorus goes, you do it to yourself, you do, and that's why it really hurts, right? They bring this on themselves, and to then get up at your club function and claim that you are the victim, it just flat out disgusts me, right? When is this club going to accept who they are and what they are?
Come on, man.
Yeah, I'll
mean-
leave it there.
I mean, it's pretty simple. You don't like the gun being pointed at you, stop providing the ammo.
Yep.
Like, purely and simply, like, it's just like, oh, I said this, but it's taken out of context. Like, yeah, but if you didn't want to put it back to you, don't say it in the first place.
Pretty simple.
They punched themselves in the face. They punched themselves in the face and blamed someone else for giving them a black eye.
That's it.
Yep.
But there you go. There is 2 winners for the Come On Man series for 2025. A great introduction, EJ. We look forward to doing this segment again next year. So make sure whenever you see a Come On Man, whether it's the off season or not, I'm sure we can take some early nominations if things pop up along the way. But it was always very amusing to see what would come up on a weekly basis. So well done, EJ, and we look forward to seeing how that goes next year.
I honestly did not think when I had this idea of, let's point out something silly that happens in the media, I did not think that I would have multiple entries in my head every week. It actually shows. It shows
writes
me
itself.
it does, but it shows me how much spin there is, and how much outrage there is, and I don't know if I've got the energy to go again, but I'm sure I will.
Yeah, there's a bit of conjecture in chat. Apparently, it's a souvlaki, not a kebab.
Mate, it could be your gyros. It could be your gyros, right? You know what? If you want to call it a souvlaki, if you want to call it whatever you want to call it, you know what? It was a flatbread with meat in it. Okay. Can we agree?
I was going to say, can we just agree to souvlaki given they played North Melbourne?
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, I like
that's
that.
fair.
I like that.
Yeah. I don't know much. Yeah.
It's amazing. I was going to say,
it's a lamb sandwich.
It's a lamb sandwich. Or the Nick Larkin. It works.
But going back on your point, it's amazing what you pick up when you actually start looking for it. It's easy to have these things just go, in one ear, out the other, or just go over your head. But once you start looking at it, and it's like, holy fuck, how do people get away with this shit? Like, how is nobody calling all of this out?
Oh, I honestly
I'm with you,
thought
Dave. I'm getting hungry too.
But when I had this idea, because I thought, it'll be a fun. I actually thought there'd be some weeks where we'd struggle. We might not get a nomination every week. But it's exactly what you say. The moment you start reading it, it's like, what is going on?
Yeah, we struggled. Just sometimes too many noms.
The reason it works so well is because the audience are in on it too, and they're finding nominations as well and things that we may miss throughout the week, and everyone's quick to tag and bring it up. And I love it. I love that everyone's keen to point them out really quick on the socials, because it helps build a nice little back catalogue of Come On Man. So keep up your good work, everybody.
Special mention to RFC and Jones Racing, who are they're all over it.
I love it. Love the Come On
Man. They're all over it.
No, it's very good. No, but we'll do that again next year. And if anyone's got any other segment ideas that you'd like to see on the weekly show next year, feel free to sing out whatever you're wanting to look at. We always obviously do the review and the preview, Come On Man and VFL. But if there's other bits and pieces you think would be funny or worthwhile doing, we're always open to ideas. So feel free to pitch them. But I guess any other trade stuff we want to talk about? I think we're pretty much well and truly off the table in that space. Draft stuff we've spoken about. Any other Richmond? I want to get your thoughts on Luke Bruce quickly, and Taylor Duray, who have just started with the club in development coach roles. I think it's been really good that we've expanded in that part. So to actually have a forward, midfield, and defensive development coach in Bruce Duray and Jack Siebel, I think is a really, really good move. And Lonergan obviously promoted as well. It's probably the most beefiest our coaching and development ranks have looked for quite some time, and it makes sense given the amount of youngsters that we've got. But what do you guys, and what does everyone in chat, what do you all think about the addition of Luke Bruce and Taylor Duray? What do you expect and hope they bring to these young Cubs that we've got coming through the ranks?
I'm absolutely stoked with Bruce, given the young crop of sort of small forwards that we have and half forwards. The fact that we've got one of the the more prolific and most prolific small forwards in terms of goals and smarts. He was a brilliant player. I think that's going to really, really do wonders for Mansell, for Morris if he plays there. Juddy Clark, Taj Houghton. I won't name them all, but we've got a nice little core of smalls now, and having someone who's especially fresh out of the game and knows what the current trends are and everything, I think we underestimate how valuable that is. I mean, it's all good getting someone like Nathan, let's say, for example, Nathan Buckley, who's been out of the game for a while and has just been doing media. The game's changed, so having someone who's come straight out of the game and knows exactly what the trends have been like and where the game's sort of going to, I think we often underestimate how impactful that can be.
If we go back to our best and fairest, and the way that players like Broad won the club award again for the third year in a row.
Yeah,
Francis Burke Award. Yeah, Francis Burke Award. Thank you. I drew a blank. I can remember his jumper number, but I couldn't remember his name. I know he's from Nathalia. But so obviously K-Mac was a very special person around the club. Now, I don't know if you saw any of the Hawthorn best and fairest stuff, but the way that, so Gunston won at the age of 34, an amazing effort. And he almost had tears in his eyes when he's talking about Bruce. So I think as a person, we've got a really good person coming into the club, which is just as important as the tricks he's going to bring. Because Luke Bruce wasn't the most athletic. He couldn't jump the highest. He couldn't kick the furthest. It was his brain that did it for him.
The hard
one. Yep. And he has an amazing relationship with Uze, and that was one of the things that got us over the line.
Yeah. And that's where Taylor Duray is also going to be a really welcome addition, because he's another one that's done it the hard way. He wasn't the most talented bloke, but he put his head over the football every time it was there. He cracked in. He got the best out of himself. It's, the hard work and the dedication and everything. And that's what you want when I'm looking at it. This is the type of coach you want working with someone like Smiley, for example, who may have had question marks on the dedication, the professionalism, the determination, all that kind of thing. Like working with Taylor Duray, getting those professional behaviours in, I think, we kind of got a better player, I reckon.
They're both going to be awesome. I'm really glad they're two very, very good appointments. And what about your thoughts quickly as well, gents, on Sam Lonergan promoted to look after midfield stoppage alongside Blake Carosella, who's looking after the midfield, I suppose, the ball movement and transition side of things. I'm actually excited by the fact we've got someone specifically in there for stoppage. I think he said this a while ago, but putting one and one together, I'm kind of hoping they've used Lonergan because of his previous development role, meaning that we're going to see more of the kids that he was working with in at that same part of the ground. So there's a bit more of a natural connection and flow with what he was doing to what he's now doing. But I think it's a good move to have that part of the ground bolstered up.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the kids, they have a good connection with Lonergan. Like when you've seen some of the debuts, he's been there and right beside them, and there's been words had before and after the presentations and that. So I know when we went to 2017, they talked about connection, and we were the club that went with the Triple H sessions and blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. I think we're getting back in this last 12 months. We've got back to the connection, and I think that part of Lonergan being in there really excites me.
Yeah, and I think it's like Bruce himself is not going to be like focused on one area. From what I was reading of his article that the club put out, might have been a couple of days ago, he mentioned specifically that he's really excited to work with Jack Siebel, who's still our midfield line coach. So I think just the fact that he's willing to work with them, hopefully we can get the forwards and the mids on a better page in terms of, just the connection.
That's it. They are definitely two crucial areas. If we can somehow bridge that gap with the connection piece between forwards and midfield, and you'd love Bruce to get to work with Jonty Fall as well. I know they played very different roles. Obviously, one's a tall, one's a small, but there was one year that Luke Bruce kicked something ridiculous like 24 goals straight. And probably just more to do with the mindset side of things and unlocking that with Jonty Fall, because he's got the skill set unquestionably. It's just if we can maximize the part between the years and he can hit the ground running. You'd love for Jonty to kick, 30 or 40 goals. That might be a bit of a stretch by me, but you'd love to see him have a massive year in 2026.
I reckon he'll kick 30. I mean, he had more than 30. He had more than 30 shots at goal this year, and that's the first year blowing up after, patrolling the wings and drifting forward. There's no reason that with another 12 months of development between the group and that connection and everything, there's no way that he shouldn't kick at least 20 goals. I back him in for 30, but 20
Birdman's
should probably
got a
be
good
the
one.
minimum.
Who's kicking more, Armstrong or Jonty? What does everyone in chat think, and what do you two gentlemen think? Who kicks more goals in 2026, Jonty Fall or Harry Armstrong?
See,
that is a really good question.
It's a ripper question.
For me,
well done, Birdman.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go Jonty. Not just because he's my man, but I think he's the forward that's different to anyone else that we have. He's the one that's probably going to be the centre half forward pushing up, whereas Armstrong, there's a case for him or Lafau to be that third tall. So I'm not so much sure that Armstrong plays as many games as what Jonty does.
I'm going to go Jonty, because before that question was posed and we were talking about Bruce and working with the forwards or whatever, have we got a kicking coach?
I mean, you would just assume some of them just double up as doing that. I don't know. There's no one specifically listed as that.
I know it's off season, but I was going down a rabbit hole. I really would like to just slightly, and here I am, a fat middle-aged mid-50s bloke. I would like to slightly get someone to muck around just a little bit with Armstrong's mechanics.
Wasn't he working with Matty Lloyd?
I don't know. He's got a little bit of bent leggy sort of whatever, and so I think for consistency over time, I think Jonty will end up being a better kick for goal.
Well, we've got, as Peter's mentioned, we've got Fev down there, so Fev he's doing
the girls.
Some work with the AFLW. Yeah. He can double up on the role and get him down there.
Although the way that he started in the Legends game, maybe not. I think he was one.
He got back on track.
He did.
I reckon. It's a tough question, Armstrong. That's a really good question.
It's a superb question.
It is. I feel like Jonty Fall's probably going to generate more chances because of the sheer volume and the work rate that he has. But a lot of his chances might come from further out. But that's not really a deterrent either, because we've seen him kick the ball 65, 70 metres with absolute ease. The ball's still travelling, that one at Marvel Stadium, I've heard. So they're harder ones to convert,
okay.
But he'll start landing them soon.
I will put this rider on it. If we improve our forward 50 entries in our connection, Armstrong, because he'll be the deepest forward. If we play like we did this year, then Jonty. I think there's a clear path to both. But so if we become a better side, I can see Armstrong kicking more because he's closer to goal.
Yeah, I think Jonty will end up with more shots, but I think Armstrong will end up with the better shots at goal.
Bang.
So what about throwing in a third factor? How many goals do we think Tom Lynch is good for?
30.
There's a sensational conversation going on in the comments. I'm almost lost.
Yeah, I can't see him because I'm on the phone.
Right. I was someone else, but then I was Billy Joel and Darren Learman, and then Billy Joel, and apparently I would have liked to have been Billy Joel when Christy Brinkley was around, and very good, very good. Yeah. Well,
It's interesting.
I think the learning out of this is how exciting is it that we've actually got what we already consider to be, in 2 or 3 years' time, 2 genuine key forwards with very different makeups.
Yeah,
Yes,
and let's not
really
forget
the same.
Sims as well.
Who will miss a big part of the early part of next season.
Yes, he was on crutches at the JDM, but
Stress fractures.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
between the three, if we can get 85 goals out of Lynch, Armstrong, and Jonty next year, I think we've done pretty good.
Yep.
As a trio, if we can get 85, 90 goals out of all three of them, I think that's a pretty successful year.
I'm hearing top 8 is what I'm hearing after all this. It's what I'm feeling.
Put the house on it.
And you've still got Liam Fawcett in the background as well, who needs to get a crack at some point too. And look, I know there'll be maybe a lot of people who are a bit divided on Lynch playing again this year. I think it's absolutely the right call. He still has that protective role to play, to let these guys develop. And they talked about on Trade Radio again, the most important thing for Lynch to do this year is to ensure that those other kids aren't taking the first defender. So Jonty and Harry must be getting the second and third defenders, and Lynch has got to just take that first defender and make him accountable. But I just think we need Lynch to be mobile. We need him just to be on the move. I just don't want to see any more of that stationary stuff. And I know it might be getting harder for him as he gets older, but I think the success of our forward line is dependent on how much movement happens within it. If all three stand there with their arm up, they won't kick anywhere near the 90 goals. But if they all get on their bike and lead and get into different areas and open up space for each other like what the good sides do, then, you start to become a real chance to have some easier shots for goal, and hopefully we convert it.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that I was pleased with Lynch towards the back end of the season, the last couple of games that you and I went to. He looked like he was moving a lot better towards the end of the year than he did at the start of the year. He was actually leading, he was pushing up. He was actually getting separation on defenders, which towards the start of the season he wasn't. And it goes back to the point where, that 5-week suspension that he copped, that was probably the worst patch that Jonty had at AFL level, because he wasn't able to push up the ground. He had to be the target forward, and he wasn't very effective. So that's where Lynch, as we've mentioned, needs to be more of a leader and actually stick around at AFL level, to allow Jonty, to develop, push up the ground, Harry to get separation and everything like that. So he's probably outside of Nank, because of the issues that we have with the ruck depth. I think Lynch is probably the most important right now in regards to our structure in the team.
Speaking of ruck, this is a really interesting one from David, and I know it's something that we've spoken about a little bit, EJ, over the year, but apparently Tom Sims could be earmarked to be a ruckman now because of the new rules. Now, he was drafted as a forward ruck. I actually initially thought it was a ruck forward, but it actually was a forward ruck. That was the primary role, was the forward part of it. But the new rules maybe see him being lent on as a view to be the ruckman going forward, which I guess is a kind of a similar mold to what Cooper Duff Tytler is, who's obviously all the rage for this year's draft. Can we see Simsy doing that type of role, especially with the no bouncing, with the last touch rule and things like that?
So fill me in. What's the new ruck rule?
There's no centre bounces. It's literally throw ups and everything.
You can still wrestle. It's all right.
And then there's maybe less throw-ins because of the last touch. It'll only be marginally. I guess the view is that it starts to turn its head towards a more athletic type ruckman than the old school gorillas. Maybe ever so slightly, but...
Well, my thoughts on ruckman, and I align with Grant Thomas. You don't need a great ruckman. You just need a competitive
100%.
player. And if Sims has... Look, I hate to harp on it, and I don't want to be the Scott Pendlebury, but Sims has an athletic background. That's how my friends knew him. That's like my friend, his daughter's playing for Hawthorn in the AFLW. They knocked around little athletics together for years. So he was an athlete before he was a footballer. We could have our own Mark Blixarves.
Oh, our own Blitzarves. Big Premiership Ruckman. That's very true. That's very true.
Say Premiership Ruckman Griggs.
Darcy Fort, 2 times Premiership Ruckman.
I have one. I do have a question before we wrap up.
Yep.
And you alluded to it at the start of the night. Where do you two see Sonsie and Dow, who are now in limbo? What do you think will happen?
Yeah, I've really backed both of these players in for such a long time. It hurts that they're still in this position. Sonsie, I still think's got a good skill set. I know it's just the cracking into the contest that we maybe raised the question about. Thompson Dow is honestly, in my opinion, very, very unlucky that he got injured when he did. I was even rewatching a couple of games earlier on in the week, and yeah, he was playing really well. Like, he was playing his role pretty well and bringing other players into game and started to fit in nicely. But I guess it depends on if we get another pick, how high is that pick, and is that player going to be of better value? I think one of them's probably gone. I don't know which one, because Louis Callaway probably comes in as well. Hopefully, there's been no commitment to that front from Blair at all, but I reckon one of them's gone. You flip a coin. I really don't know. I mean, who you'd rather keep. Sonsie can probably hurt teams more, I reckon. If one of them was able to hit higher in their potential, Sonsie's going to give us a greater output than what Dow would if they were both able to do that.
Yeah, it's tough because if you could combine them, they'd be a pretty handy footballer. Yeah. If you could take Sonsie's skills and transfer them to Dow with his attack and everything, he'd be a B+, type footballer. But for me personally, I would say that Sonsie is the one that goes, only for the simple fact is, even this year where he wasn't guaranteed the contract, some of the efforts and just like the intensity, and it looked like there was no determination or urgency in the way that he plays, whereas Dow over the past 18 months has consistently gotten better and better at AFL level. He's still not, A grade, but the work that he's been doing, I think he's going to be a very handy replacement for Prestia, if this is Prestia's last year. And if I look at what their contributions are at AFL level at this point, I think Dow has outperformed Sonsie by a country mile at this point. So I'd be personally keeping Dow. I think Dow fits our system a lot better with what we're trying to do, with the pressure and everything. Whereas Sonsie, I could see a club making a play for him as a cheapie, especially with but then again, you've got the fifth, bench rollers there, the fifth rotation. So who knows? We may even keep both, but my preference would be Dow.
Who are you keeping, EJ? What's your gut feel on this situation?
I'd give them both one more year. I
wouldn't be against it either.
I like the best of what both of them bring, and I believe we're in a transitional phase where we can basically, we're carrying 3/4 of a footballer or half a footballer, because we're getting a bit out of both and we're looking for more out of both. But as Grock said, if we could combine the two together, so I'd be happy to give them both one more year.
I would too, to be honest. You still need the foot soldiers, right? If someone goes down or whatever, you got guys who can step in and still do a role.
100%. It's a 40-man list. I've said this a number of times. It's a 40-man list.
Yeah. And you can't have 40 A graders like you've also said. Interesting, another one from David.
Hang on. Hello, John. Got a new motor?
I've missed something here.
Oh, you don't know. You're too young. You don't know who Alexi Sale is.
Oh, no.
Hopefully, Nuclear Days, that was acceptable.
David's mentioned that we could still be in the hunt for Elijah Hollands too, which intrigues me greatly. And I know it doesn't sit well with a lot of people, but the last I had heard on this was a little while ago, but the last I had heard is that he had started to get on top of his shit 3 months prior to the season ending, because that was kind of the point in time in which Carlton had maybe spoken to him and said, hey, you're out the door. We're not putting up with this shit. So if he's already been working on himself and getting his stuff sorted off field, I'm still in the camp that I'd be okay taking the risk. The kid can play, but it would be on the shortest leash imaginable. Like one inkling of a stuff up and you're gone, no questions asked. And he would have to understand that too. And yeah, room him with, I mean, not to put the onus on senior players, but if he was living with one of the senior players as well, or I don't know.
What we need to do is we need to get Hollands living with Smiley.
Yeah. And I get that. Get him with Nank will sort the shit out real quick.
No. We need Hollands and Smiley to live together, and their guardian is Daniel Connors.
Yeah. Cousins will swing by as well to say good day every now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that could. Yeah, I agree. I would take him because he's the exact type of midfielder that we're currently lacking. Outside class and leg speed.
And that's the problem, isn't it?
But like, it kind of makes sense too, because given we've got how many list spots and how many picks, we still got to make up a couple. So I wouldn't be against us saying, all right, train with us over the preseason. And if you keep your nose clean, you work on your issues and the demons that you're battling, we'll pick you up with the SSP in February. If you can prove to us over the period that you're going to remain professional, stay out of trouble, do everything that we ask of you, sign him on. And I think that's as much as we hate, the AFL changing rules, I think one of the best things that they've done has been the SSP. I think just having the chance for players to train with clubs and try and win a spot, I think that's been good for clubs. It's been really good for players who may have been delisted looking for another home, who may not have to do another 12 months of VFL or state football before they have to nominate for the draft. I think it's been really good. And if we can do that with Hollands, I think that would be beneficial.
The only reason why I'm not sure if that will work, though, is because he's still contracted. So I think that would have to be a trade. Unless the Blues delist him, then obviously we could do that. But yeah, there'll be someone who'll take a punt. And you got to have yourself in the right position to be able to do it. But like to your point, Grock, the real draw card is the fact he's actually the exact type of player we need. So it's not just filling another random role. It's actually very much a needs type player. But it can't be at the expense of butchering everything else that we've done either. So
yeah.
We'll have to see.
Before we go, just touching on the Sonsie and Dowson. So go ahead.
Greystoke, you goddamn right. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Sorry, go back to what you were saying.
Yeah. I was going to say, just on Dow and Sonsie, I wonder how much of it is going to play out on with draft week and where the actual picks end up being for the draft. Because if there's going to be some players that we think we might miss out on, let's say Essendon trade up and we miss out on picks, the players that we want, maybe we keep them both. But if we don't, and a player that we want there, that could make the decision for us as well.
I think that's a good point. That will 100% play a part to see what type of player we end up with. So we'll watch this space. But
because if, for example, Dyson Sharp is there at one of our picks, I reckon that probably means Sonsie is gone. Or at least one of them will be gone if Sharp's there. Yeah,
there's definitely plenty to play out for trade week and draft week. Maybe not trading for plays, but we still might get some phone calls about trading for picks. Or that might all happen on draft night potentially. But either way, in Blue we trust, as EJ mentioned earlier, so we'll have to see how that all pans out.
Just on draft, what I heard a couple of days ago is Essendon are really trying hard to get one of the Eagles picks because they're super keen on Roby.
Oh, really? Hands off.
Yeah.
Don't touch him. Jesus. I thought they wanted Dersma. They maybe want him as well. But plenty of... Go, EJ.
Oh, no, just a comment.
The big show.
Tonight.
Big show.
Yes, I'll pay that.
Not bad.
Not bad.
All right, well, that is the live done for tonight. That is the Cmon Man Awards night done. 2 lots of awards. EJ, thank you again for running that this year. And we will do another live at some point when CB is not at a concert that he forgot to tell us about. So we can do the Player of the Year award and we can see how closely our award aligned with the BNF. And then, yeah, maybe we can revisit some of the predictions we might have had during the year. But thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. We appreciate your love and support. It's been a good crowd, lots of good jokes and good vibes. Make sure you keep staying in touch with us on all the socials, and there'll be videos popping out randomly. And then, I think we'll probably get together again for draft night. I imagine we may do another one before that, but I think draft night we'll do another one. We'll maybe do like another big mock draft that we try and all pick, and we'll tick them off and see how close we get. We'll work out some other shit to do in the meantime as well. But have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, go Tigers.
Go Dogs.
Go Tigers. Suck shit, Geelong.